Welcome to our board meeting of Tuesday, December 15th, 2015. Mr. Clerk, could you report out of closed session?
Excuse me. Closed session began at 3:17 p.m. The board has decided to remove the following agenda items from our agenda: D202, D601, D602, and D603. These items will be agendized at a later date.
Thank you. Could you please rise for the salute to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Thank you. Let the record reflect that all board members are in attendance this evening. And with that, Mr. T.J. Zane will welcome the public.
Thank you, President Beatty. Welcome to the monthly meeting of the Board of Education. Item C is placed on our agenda to enable members of our community to bring items that are not placed anywhere else on the agenda to the board's attention. If you would like to address the board on any agenda item, please complete a speaker slip. All requests to speak must be submitted to the executive assistant to the board before the agenda item comes up. If you are requesting an agenda item be pulled for public discussion from Section E, consent calendar, a speaker slip must be submitted to the executive assistant now, as approval of the consent calendar is one of the first items up for approval. The board is responsible for setting policy and direction for students of Poway Unified School District. It is important to the community that civility and good role modeling be a very real part of our meetings. Students are always present at board meetings, and our meetings are live streamed via the internet, and recorded copies are posted on the PUSD website. Speaking time is limited to 3 minutes per speaker, possibly without the exception of this disclaimer, with a maximum of 15 minutes per side of each topic unless waived by the board president. There will be a 30-second warning when time is running out. Speakers may only speak on one topic under item C and may not defer their speaking time to another individual. Vulgarity and profanity will not be allowed. If you have a complaint or charge against a specific PUSD employee, it is recommended that you submit a formal complaint as outlined in our board procedure 4.106.2. The final step in this process provides the board the ability to hear an appeal of the complaint if the board so chooses. If you are voicing a complaint against an employee in order to protect the employee's right to adequate notice before a hearing of such complaint and to preserve the ability of the board to legally consider the complaint in any subsequent evaluation of the employee, it is the policy of the board to hear the complaint in closed session. If you have any written materials for the board to review that would provide more specific information, please submit them to the executive assistant. The Brown Act does not permit board action or extended discussion of any item not on the agenda, but your comments will be referred to staff. With that said, welcome, and thank you for coming.
Okay, thank you. And now, please bear with us. We are going through our annual board ritual that we do every December, and that is conducting the election of officers and appointing representatives to our various board committees. So we're going to take several minutes to do that. Okay, and the first step in electing our officers, as the current president, our policy requires I conduct the nomination and election of the office of president only. Once it has been completed, then the new president will then take nominations and conduct separate elections for the vice president and the clerk, as well as the assignment of committees. It has been recommended that we slightly alter this process and that we take from the board any and all nominations for a given board member, and then once those nominations are put forward, we close the nominating process and we then conduct a roll call vote in order to elect our 3 officers. So with that, are there any nominations for board president? Mr. Zane?
I'd like to nominate board member O'Connor Ratcliffe.
Okay. And I'm going to nominate Mr. Charles Sellers. Are there any other nominations? Okay, so we have 2 nominations at the board. So what we can each, well, I guess we do a roll call vote. So we will start with Mr. Zane.
My nominee, Ms. O'Connor Ratcliffe.
Mr. Sellers?
I'll vote for myself. Thank you.
Mr. Patapow? Okay. Ms. O'Connor Radcliffe?
Ms. O'Connor Ratcliffe.
Okay. And Mr. Sellers. All right. And with that, Ms. O'Connor Radcliffe, congratulations. You're the new board president.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you have?
I have a script. Thanks.
Okay. This one here. Okay.
Okay, thank you, board members. Here I go. We're going to do this for vice president now, so I'd like to open it up for nominations for vice president. Pause. Hold that thought. We have a brief presentation here. This is a plaque with a gavel. It's almost as cool as this one. I think it might be exactly as cool as this one. In special recognition to Kimberly Beatty for service as president to the Poway Unified School District Board of Education, December 2014 through December 2015. Please join me in thanking her for her service. You can keep that if you want to make it. Keep it because I'm getting scratched. Okay, sorry about that. I was a little premature, though. Back to where we were. I'll open it for nominations for vice president.
I'd like to nominate Kimberly Beatty for vice president, please.
Any other nominations?
I would like to nominate T.J. Zane for vice president.
And any other nominations? Hearing no other nominations, I will close nominations and we will do another roll call vote. I'd like to ask our student board representative, would you like to give your preferential vote?
T.J. Zane.
And Mr. Zane.
T.J. Zane.
Mr. Sellers?
Ms. Beatty.
T.J. Zane.
Ms. Beatty?
T.J. Zane. And then by an official vote of 3-2, our new vice president is Mr. Zane. Okay, we'll take nominations for clerk and then we'll do the seat shuffle in a moment here. So I'd like to open up then nominations for clerk.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Sellers.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Patapow.
I just wanted discussion.
Okay,
Okay.
sure.
So as part of the discussion, I just wanted to state one of the reasons I strongly urge the board to support Mr. Sellers for clerk is I had the privilege and honor of being born president when my second child graduated from high school, and I got to have my name. We got to have my name on her diploma, and it's something that I will treasure for the rest of my life. Having had that opportunity, Mr. Sellers is the only one on the board who has a child graduating in June, and there are 2 board members who get their signatures on the students' diplomas every spring, and as well as the winter for Abraxas, and that is the board president and the clerk. So I urge the board to support Mr. Sellers as clerk this year. Thank you.
I'd like to speak to that briefly. I was aware of that as well, and I have made some inquiries, and it is possible to allow board member Sellers to sign his son's diploma whether or not he is elected clerk. So with that, I'd like to restate, we have nominations for clerk for Mr. Charles Sellers and Mr. Andy Patapow. I'd like to do our roll call vote again, starting with Mr. Pujar.
No preference.
Mr. Patapow.
Myself.
Myself.
Mr. Sellers?
Mr. Patapow. And with that, Mr. Patapow with 3 votes is our new clerk, our returning clerk. Okay, and with that, we will have a very brief recess to change seats and nameplates, and then we'll be right back. Thank you.
You're back to where you started.
No, actually, I was where Neil was. You probably don't remember, but they put me on the other side of the student when I first came here. No.
Wow.
It,
Well, there's a distinction I've never seen before.
I got stories.
I didn't know that story.
Boy,
Yeah.
you've come a long way.
I sure have. Thank you, Mr. Patapow. I appreciate the promotion.
Jeez.
My word.
Oh.
I'm actually sad to say I never knew that story.
All right, we are back. Still on item A6, we are doing we have 10 appointments that the president gets to make, and I'd like to read the name of each of these positions in turn and give the current appointee a chance to briefly describe the position and the time commitment, perhaps, and then ask if any board members are interested in the position and appoint and move on down the line, hopefully as expeditiously as possible. First is the County Board of Education representative. I had this position the past year, and there is a 0 time commitment this past year. Nothing ever came up. Would you like it?
Sure.
All right, Miss Beatty, excuse me. The California Association of Suburban School Districts, CalSSD representatives, we have 2 to 3 slots. This past year, it was Vice President Zane and myself and me, and we had Ms. Beatty was our alternate. Is anyone interested in this position this year?
I'll remain as alternate.
Okay.
I'm happy to remain in one of those spots. I was just going to ask, maybe procedurally, maybe a faster way of doing this. Is there any positions on here for which someone does not want to continue serving? So everybody's happy serving in these same spots. Maybe we just kind of roll along.
That would be faster. Would anyone like to switch what they were doing last year? Give everybody a chance to consider that and look up to indicate that you thought about it and you're done.
Is the Palomar Council, and it's a rotating position. I do want to note I have not yet this year, calendar year, had the pleasure of attending those PTA meetings, so I would like, if everyone has gone at least once, I would like to go next.
Works.
The only one I see on here that involves me or would involve me is that Poway Chamber of Commerce liaison said last year was rotating. I attended most of the governmental affairs meetings. I'm happy to be put down as the designate for that, if you don't want to rotate it.
Is anyone else interested? I don't see why and there's any reason that more than one member couldn't attend those meetings, but we could put Mr. Sellers down as our official designee.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that said, I think we've completed this, unless anyone has anything else to add.
Did we have someone for the Board of Supervisors rep? Was that?
TJ and I last.
Yeah, Mr.
Okay,
Zane and
so you're
Mr.
just gonna
Sellers shared.
Very busy.
That. No, it's doing nothing. Okay, and the same with the subcommittee. I guess there wasn't much. Who was assigned to the subcommittee?
The City of Poway or the City of San Diego?
City of Poway.
City of
Well,
Poway
both.
liaison was Mr. Patapow and you.
Okay. Did we do anything? Okay. Okay.
Okay, it looks like with the exception of changing out our County Board of Education representative to Ms. Beatty and our and our Poway Chamber of Commerce liaison to Mr. Sellers, everything will remain the same. Our next item is A7. This is nominations for the California School Boards Association Delegate Assembly. We need to vote on those? No. No, I appointed them. It's done. I appoint them. I vote for my items.
Be cautious.
I move that we accept the slate as presented for all the appointed positions.
Motion by Member Zane, seconded by Mr. Patapow. All in favor of the slate as presented?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? It's unanimous. All right, now we're moving on to A7, nominations for the California School Boards Association Delegate Assembly.
Okay.
Yeah,
May
Dr.
I?
Collins, sure.
Under the last item, we just renewed, unless I missed it, Mr. Sellers to continue as a delegate assembly. There are 6 districts in the region that are allowed to appoint because of the size of the district, and they don't have to be elected by the voting members of the region. And so Mr. Sellers will be given the paperwork to fill out and accept that position. The second part of this is also to just reaffirm the dates of the board meetings for the 2016 calendar year and see if there are any questions on that. We talked about these
Do we need a
before.
motion on this again? Do we need to approve this again?
I would like to go ahead and have you approve both of these. Approve Mr. Sellers and approve the calendar.
Motion to approve Mr. Sellers as the CSBA delegate.
We
and-
already did that,
Well,
right here.
No, this is,
officially they want,
Okay,
and adoption of the calendar.
go on with your
School year.
motion, excuse me.
No worries.
Okay, on a motion by Member Zane, seconded by Member Patapow, we have a motion to accept Member Sellers as the official CSBA Delegate Assembly representative and to approve the board calendar for the next year. Rolled into one. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Unanimous.
okay.
Now we can move on with this one?
Now we go on, this is always confusing. So now we go on to the CSBA vote for the region. So if you'll turn to the 2015 CSBA Delegate Assembly roster, The third page under Region 17. Region 17 is the region we belong to. You will see that San Diego Unified has a little, it's not an asterisk, but a little diamond-shaped marker there. And another one for Marnie Foster, and another one for Michael McQuarrie. So they get to a point 1, 2, 3. Sweetwater Union also gets to a point, like we just did. Poway gets to a point, and there were 2 actually for Sweetwater. All of these other folks are up. Anybody who is up in 2016, if you would like to make a nomination for that district's appointee, you may. So, for example, the second one on there is National School District. They expire this year. If this board has any desire to nominate someone to represent National School District, this is the time and place to do that. I will tell you that typically we don't do anything here. We wait until the people who want to run for those offices submit information, and then we look at those, and then the board can vote on those if they want. But we leave it to the districts to nominate, and then we vote on those.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the delegates listed in Region 17.
Say that one more time.
We accept the delegates listed in Region 17.
We have 9 there whose terms are expiring, and we would have to renominate all of them without knowing if they'd like to continue. What Superintendent Collins is suggesting is that we wait until we see if they would like to continue before we do any nominating or accept nominations.
When will that, they'll contact us, or?
Yeah, the
We'll
ballots
receive
are
a
due in
list.
March 15. So
So we've got a few months.
Okay.
So we can,
Would anyone like to nominate anyone at this time?
I move we do nothing. I'll wait until March.
I'm not sure we need a motion for that, but thank you.
okay. So we can move on then. There's no action on that.
All right, moving on to agenda item A8. This is approval of all of our minutes. We have 3 meetings to approve, and I'd like to do them all in order here. So the first order of business is to approve minutes from the November 16th, 2015 regular meeting. Are there any corrections?
For the people first dyslexia, not dyslexia, for the people first one, I think I motioned for my student preferential vote, and that wasn't reflected in the minutes.
Could you be more specific about where we are?
I believe it is. It was for LSS, or D102.
Is there any objection to making that correction?
And you had left, and I had made sure and registered your preferential vote, so, yeah. I
Okay,
could
any
read that
further
into the record.
corrections then?
Yeah.
No? I'd like to say then the minutes are approved as corrected, unless you need us to take a vote. No. Great. Now, moving on to the November 30th special meeting. Are there any corrections to those minutes? All right, hearing none, those minutes are approved as written. Okay. Finally, the December 6th special meeting, we do have a revised set of minutes in there. Are there any corrections to these revised minutes?
Move to approve.
All right, hearing no objection, those minutes are also approved as written. Fantastic, and I don't see it in here. The next order of business should be approval of agenda sequence. It isn't here. Are there any changes to the agenda sequence at this time? Okay, I'm hearing none, so the agenda sequence is approved. Item A9, this is approval of our consent calendar. Yes.
This is
We haven't done it yet.
That's coming up.
I'm sorry.
I'm about to do it. I'm right here.
Oh, you're about to?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Not a
apologize.
problem. No. So approval of the consent calendar. Are there any items anyone would like to pull from our consent calendar? I'll start down at the end with Mr. Pujar.
No, thank you.
Mr. Sellers.
No, thank you.
Mr. Patapow.
Nope.
I'd like to pull E306.
Okay, so then with the exception of item E306 pulled by Mr. Zane, let's see, and I will call that at the end of all other section D items, if that's okay, so we don't have to reorder our binders at the moment. Let's see, so no other items to pull, then the consent calendar is approved. Is that going to work for you? We need a vote on this one? Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Unanimously passed with the exception of E306. Moving on to section B, these are reports, presentations, and early agenda items. The first part under this section are student board member reports. And I have from Abraxas High School, Kevin Garnica, excuse me, I'm sorry. Welcome.
Hi everybody. Here's all the greatest events happening at Abraxas. The community-wide Draco's Nest fundraiser was an awesome event that benefited the transition program and Abraxas as a whole. Many staff and students participated. In honor of Veterans Day, students leaders held a Go Dream Drive raising money for veterans housing, clothing, and job training. On November 17, students in our civics and econ classes went on a field trip to the Superior Court to experience You Be the Judge. They take part in a mock trial. Feedback from participants and staff was very positive. Leading up to Thanksgiving, our leadership class constructed and ran a CrossFit officers for our transition and deployment-bound students for an hour of intensive competitions. Transition and a holiday photo was taken December 4th. Transition students Jade Bayou, Josh LeClain, and Kyle Bitter presented at the Adobe Plus for a movie Honors Day on December 10th. There was a fundraiser is happening help to support the transition prom at Christmas Card Lane on December 13th, last Sunday, and this coming up Sunday, December 20th. Leadership students is sending holiday cards to wooden warriors. Transition is participating in a Make-A-Wish Santa letter writing campaign. Transition is participating in our second annual Toy for Tots fundraiser. Our goal is to reach 100 new toys donated. If we reach our goal, Principal Dave will dress as an elf, shave his head, and get a henna tattoo on his head. His wife is not happy. 2 English students are working on grants to raise funds for the Brass's Garden Project. Thank you.
Heard great feedback about the students who attended the Adobe Bluffs Ability Awareness event. So you guys are up to a lot of great things here. Next, I'd like to have, Lauren from Poway High School.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lauren Fromm, and I am the ASB Executive Vice President of Finance at Poway High School, filling in for Ashley, who unfortunately couldn't make it because of a soccer game. It is my pleasure to update you about what has been going on at Poway. This past week at Poway High was campaign week as potential officers and executives vied for a position in ASB. The campus was plastered with campaign posters, and each candidate got their chance to give their speech on our video announcements for the school. Elections were held earlier today to decide which winning candidates will take office in January. This week is also Winter Spirit Week. Yesterday, students wore pajamas and comfy clothing. Today, they wore their most unique holiday sweaters. Tomorrow is What Are Those Wednesday, which features crazy shoes and crazy hair. Thursday is Candy Cane Day, and Friday is Flannel Friday. So far, participation has been amazing. Additionally, we are holding our Toys for Tots drive this week. We have placed boxes around the school, and students can bring in new, unwrapped toys, which will be donated to kids in need during the holiday season. Regarding athletics, our winter sports teams are off to a great start. Our boys' soccer team won last night, and our girls' soccer team is playing as we speak against San Marcos High School. Our boys' basketball team just won the championship of their last tournament as well. Additionally, our wrestling coach, Wayne Brandsetter, has just had his 450th win. Our girls' basketball coach, Jay Truesdale, has celebrated his 600th win, and our boys' soccer coach, Gene Morris, is nearing his 200th win. Last week, our dance team hosted its highly successful annual winter show. Right now, our speech and debate team is holding a winter showcase to demonstrate their argumentative and persuasive skills. Our music department will be hosting its annual choir this Friday, and all students will be able to enjoy this festive and beautiful assembly during their 4th period classes. I know we are all looking forward to it. As winter break draws closer and finals are approaching, our Titans are continuing to work hard to achieve their goals academically. After we return from our break, we will have a week of review and then launch into our semester finals. That is all I have for you tonight. Thank you and happy holidays from Poway High School.
Thank you very much. Next from Rancho Bernardo High School. That's your fan club, Reiko Simmons.
Hi, so things we are proud of at RB High. Our holiday assembly was last Friday, and our choir, orchestra, and band all showed off amazing performances. The dance concert and the Very Bronco Holiday Show were last week, and both were huge successes. Our dance concert also sold out for the first time ever on a Thursday night, which is huge for them. Also, we are extremely proud of our football program, who won the Southern California regional championship game last Saturday in Hesperia. The score was 31-30, and the temperature at kickoff was 36 degrees. And as a student who went, I can say most of the stable could not feel their toes. And then after 6 years of many games and assemblies, we have retired our previous mascot and bought a new mascot who looks and smells fantastic. Our mascot, who wears the suit, greatly appreciates it. Also, things we're excited about. Seniors are starting to receive acceptance letters to colleges and are preparing for the January 1st deadline. Also, our door decorating competition is taking place this week, and prizes will be awarded on Thursday. This week, we also have our band, orchestra, and choir concerts to get us in the holiday spirit. And also this weekend, we are excited to host the first ever CIF State Championship game for football on Saturday when we play Atherton Sacred Heart Prep at 6 in the Bronco Stadium. And also, we were very honored to receive a variety of grants from the Rancho Bernardo Community Foundation for programs like Student Services, Speech and Debate, and the Silver Spur newspaper. The total amount exceeded $16,000. Also, our Friends of the Library receives a $7,000 grant from the Neighborhood Reinvestment Grant to help pay for learning resources and website redesign. Things we are working on. Winter sports have begun with boys and girls basketball, boys and girls soccer, girls water polo, and wrestling. Also, our roller hockey team just finished with their 41st consecutive win, so that's over 2 years of wins for our roller hockey team. Also, most teams have been playing tournaments and will begin league play when we return from break. Due to the success of our homecoming, we are planning an informal dance hosted in our gym on January 30th. And finally, RB is having an RBHS ice skating night at the new ice rink in Poway to celebrate the end of finals on Thursday, January 14th. And thank you all for giving me the opportunity to present, as this is my last board meeting.
Thank you very much, and I know your fan club appreciated you as well. McKenna Clark from Westview High School.
Hello and good evening. As always, it is my pleasure to update all of you on the accomplishments and activities happening on Westview's campus. Last week, we wrapped up our annual and beloved dodgeball tournament. Every day for 2 weeks, most of the student body would spend their lunches filling up the gym bleachers to watch the action. Along with being a fun and traditional event, dodgeball is so successful because it allows every group on campus to get involved. Anyone can make a team, including sports teams, Westview clubs, classes, friend groups, and even staff. I know students are already getting ready, some even strategizing, for next year's tournament, and hopefully our staff can get in some more practice before then too. Us Wolverines are very proud of our NJROTC, who took part in the 4th annual Holiday with a Hero event hosted at the Poway Walmart. At this event, the Kiwanis Club provided each child with a $100 gift card where the children were able to buy holiday gifts for their family and friends, while they were paired with a hero, including local police officers and firefighters, to help them well in the store. After, the heroes and the children got to have a barbecue dinner, decorate cookies, and even take pictures with Santa Claus. Many of our Wolverines helped out at the event, and even some stepped up to serve as a hero. Along with our amazing NJROTC, our performing arts are also spreading the winter cheer. Our band, orchestra, and choir put on an awesome show for our entire student body this past Friday during school and continue to amaze the crowds at their 2 sold-out concerts. Great job to them. And in addition, our award-winning dance team has been working hard to get ready for their winter show, Ribbon Wrapped Rhythm. Their time and effort put into rehearsals and practice and incredible talent always puts on a great show, and we say good luck to them. Finally, because third quarter is approaching and the term is soon ending, we held elections for the new 2016-2017 Executive Board. I'm proud to announce our new Secretary, Nathan Shaw, our Treasurer, Lauren Overbow, our Vice President, Annie Vu, and ASB President, Ella Smith. Although I'm sad and frankly in denial that my term as ASB President will end in just a short month, but I'm excited to see these talented students thrive this upcoming year in those positions. With this being my last and final board report, I'd like to extend a thank you to you, the PUSD board, for always listening to me and the rest of the student representatives every single month. And for one last time, I'd like to say that's all I have for tonight. And as always, it's been a pleasure speaking on behalf of the Westview Wolverines. Thank you.
You've got a pretty big fan club out there, too. I have Emma Clyde from Del Norte, and before she begins, is there anyone here from Mount Carmel? Okay, great. Come on up, Emma.
Good evening. It's my privilege to report to the school board this evening. Here's what's happening at the Nest at Del Norte. College ready. We had over 690 Nighthawk scholars finish with a 4.0 or higher at the end of trimester 1. Tonight we are hosting Grad Fest for seniors who measured for cap and gowns and purchase other senior necessities. Future focused. Our girls field hockey team finished runner-up in the CIF this season, and boys cross country finished 13th in state. Senior Cameron Tomlinson led the Nighthawks, and all PUSD runners finished 28th in Division II at the state meet. Del Norte hosted Oak Valley 7th grade Avid students to show them around campus and prepare them for the Nest. Our ambassadors visited Design 39 to speak to preschoolers and 7th graders about respect. Our winter season has kicked off, and our boys wrestling team has begun successful right off the bat. Our annual band and orchestra holiday concert was held this month, and performances were well attended. We also had 2 wonderful nights of our dance team winter concert. Globally aware. Along with our community, Nighthawks volunteered to help clean up Black Mountain. Last week, we held our annual Adopt a Family fundraiser, and with the generosity of students and families alike, we were able to exceed our goal of over $6,000. An equality club has started, and their first meeting was success as Nighthawks met to better understand one another and promote a safe school environment. Our Thanksgiving food drive was a success, and Del Norte was able to contribute towards helping another family this holiday season. Thank you for your attention, and it's always a good day to be a Nighthawk.
And that concludes our student board reports, and as always, you're welcome to stay, but welcome to go. Thank you very much. And with that, moving on to the superintendent's briefing, including student, staff, school, and district recognitions. Dr. Collins.
Thank you, Madam President. During my report, I'd like to take time to point out some of the green sheets that are recognizing schools, staff, and district accomplishments. The first one I'd like to mention tonight is that the Home Depot Foundation, along with the local City of Poway Home Depot, have awarded the Construction Technology Program Community Garden Project at Abraxas School a $2,000 Team Depot grant. The grants will be used to purchase wood and screws and other items to build the raised garden beds for the community garden project. As a part of the grant, Team Depot volunteers from the Poway Home Depot will assist Abraxas students and staff with the construction. And I think you'll be hearing a little bit more about Abraxas in just a few minutes as well. Under district recognition, all 5 of the Poway Unified School District comprehensive high schools have been ranked in the top 100 of the 2,200 high schools in California by Nietzsche, a website founded in 2002 by Carnegie Mellon students. Nietzsche provides reviews of schools from students, parents, and professionals and bases its ranking on 8 different categories. And those are academics, health and safety, parent and student survey scores, student culture and diversity, teachers, resources and facilities, extracurriculars and activities, and sports and fitness. Let's give a round of applause to all 5. And then we have 2 important presentations to the Board of Education this evening. The first one, I'd like to invite Kimberly Renz, our Executive Director. The board has heard at the last 2 or 3 meetings from parents with their concerns about how we do or do not serve our students with dyslexia. Ms. Renz is here tonight to update the board on some work that's been happening in our district regarding that, so you hear what's going on up to date. Kimberly.
Good evening. We just wanted to come forward and let the board know and the community know that we have a English language arts team that's meeting, and we have representation from every school site. And they've been meeting since August, and part of their goal is to help support the sites in professional learning on implementing the California state standards. But we also have some subcommittees that are working from this team. And one of the subcommittees that's going to be coming together is a committee working to look at our early literacy program. And that early literacy program will be looking at the curriculum we use, the instructional practices that we use, different assessments that we have, so that we are aligned in providing coherent curriculum across our district. One of the areas that we are going to also be taking a look at are how are we meeting the needs of our students with potential dyslexia. So there is a wealth of information out there. The parents that have come to the board have also been very generous in sharing their information. With the new law coming into place, there is a plethora of information as well on Twitter and different resources. And so that small committee is going to come together and take a look not only at our California state standards and our general curriculum instruction and assessment, but also taking a look at the research on dyslexia. We have in our district response to intervention, and it's RTI squared. And we see our response to dyslexia and falling into our tier 2 of that pyramid. And so we will again be taking a look at what are our early screening measures, what strategies, instructional practices, curriculum will we be using with those students, who will be delivering that curriculum, and then what type of professional development do we need to provide. So that will be starting early in the 2016, and it's work that we're very anxious to be doing. And we'll also be working in collaboration with our special education department as well. So that's just an update.
Are there any questions for Kimberly while she's at the speaker's table?
I'm just extremely excited to hear what comes out of that group. I'm so glad it's formed. Thank you.
You're welcome. We'll keep you updated.
Thank you, Kimberly. I'm now going to turn over the mic to Dr. Robertson, who's going to introduce our next presenters.
Thank you, Dr. Collins. Earlier, when the speakers were speaking, you heard Kevin from Abraxas talk about the Jacko Smash and how it benefits the transition program. It's my pleasure to bring up the people who hosted the Jacko Smash and Family Fun Festival that's really intended to raise awareness of the special needs community. And if you didn't participate, this was held on Sunday, November 1st. And since it says it's annual, I'm assuming we're going to have it next year, so you all have an opportunity to participate next year. So at this time, I'd like to invite Heather Dugdale and Ginger Couvret, both from the Jacko Smash group, along with Mark Exley, who's the PUSD Special Education Foundation president, David McLeod, the Abraxas principal, and Janice Pepin, who's a teacher of special education students, for a presentation.
Thank you. I tried to be inconspicuous, but that didn't really work very well, but that's okay. I was very excited to hear Abraxas report on Jacko Smash. So I am the festival director, and Ginger is our race director, and we were very proud and honored to include PUSD, and in particular Abraxas and the PUSD Special Education Foundation as recipients of the funds that were raised in this year's Jacko Smash, and we are really pleased to announce that we have actually doubled the amount of money that was raised for our recipients this year. So we increased to 3 recipients, and we're able to give each recipient more money than we gave to our 2 recipients last year. So we hope to continue that. And we have, as a committee of 3, along with Sue Herndon, our fundraiser extraordinaire, have decided to continue our partnership with PUSD and Abraxas and the Special Education Foundation for at least the next 2 years. So we're very, very excited to continue and to grow it and to embrace and include the rest of the district in this really, really important project. And I do want to, before I give them their money, I want to say something very special too, that they were part of a Guinness World Record breaking largest Plinko board in the world. So we are now in the Guinness Book of World Records, the Poway Pumpkin Plinko. So that was fun and exciting too, and you can come and see it next year, I hope. So I want to present to the PUSD Special Education Foundation $8,000 for classroom teacher grants. And also to the PUSD Abraxas Transition Program, $8,000 for their program. I will turn it over to Ginger for our special presentation to, I won't steal her thunder.
I spoke to the PTA presidents on a number of occasions, and as a committee, we offered all the schools who make a club 10% back of all the registration fees. So we had 9 schools take advantage of that fundraising opportunity. But for the second year in a row, Black Mountain showed extreme support, and I would like to bring Coach Ned Beatty up here. And he brought a whole big group, and they hopefully had a wonderful time, and hopefully they'll get their name printed on it again next year.
Great. Thank
you. He brought
Thank
our
you
kids
very much.
too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They want say if they want to stand up so I can show off the kids and embarrass them. Three of the 4. One is in Nicaragua with the UCLA group giving health care to the locals.
Under additional recognition, I'd also like to personally recognize the Palomar Council PTA and their annual Adopt a Family program. This year, close to 500 families will have their personal wish lists filled thanks to the generosity of our employees, our parents, our local businesses, community members. A special thank you goes to Palomar Council President Mary Patterson and to the Adopt a Family Coordinator, Dorinda Soek. So let's recognize that. And a thank you goes to all the members of the Poway Kiwanis who organized last week's Holiday with Heroes event. Over 200 PUSD students from Valley, Midland, Garden Road, Los Penn, and Pomerado elementary schools were given a $100 gift certificate to shop at the Poway Walmart. They did their shopping accompanied by a hero from the Marine Corps, the Sheriff's Department, the San Diego Police Department, the Fire Department. It was quite an event, so congratulations on that. And then lastly, in closing, it is difficult for me to believe that as we are prepared to go on to our winter break, which starts Friday's the last day of school for 2 weeks. But that signifies the school year's almost half over. And as we begin the second half of the 2015-16 school year, I can't help but be struck by the following observations. You know, while the local headlines and the national news reports can unsettle us sometimes and lead us to believe that there's more bad than good in the world, the Poway community, the Poway USD total community, continues to look for and respond to opportunities for goodness. Those opportunities present themselves in many ways. Through the legislation supporting the dyslexic students, through community events like the Jacko Smash and the Holiday with Heroes, and through programs such as Palomar Council's Adopt a Family. I want everyone to remember we are a great community, a strong community, and a resilient community. And I'd like to close by wishing everyone in the PUSD community a peace-filled and joyous holiday season. Thank you.
And with that, we'll move on to our board member reports. Top that, Neil. You're first.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to be a bit long-winded today, so please bear with me. First of all, I would like to say that I'm officially done with the first batch of my college applications. I would like to thank my counselor, Mr. Eveleth, my parents, and all of the amazing staff at our high schools to help get our kids ready for college. These individuals are so passionate about what they do, often spending their nights and weekends answering our questions and guiding us through the college process. Thank you again. I would like to thank Dr. Collins, Dr. Newman, Don Kale, Stacy Campo, and Millie Swain for helping me get and advertise a Poway email so that kids can email their feedback and concerns to me. As we gather more feedback, I will present an update of student issues at future board meetings. I look forward to hearing from students in our district about the ideas and thoughts they have about making us the best district we can be. I would also like to thank Dr. Robertson for taking the time to meet with me yesterday. I really enjoyed our conversation, and it is evident that PUSD makes a conscious effort to put our students first. I would like to thank Mrs. O'Connor Ratcliffe for meeting me to discuss her vision of education, and I would like to thank Ms. Beatty for meeting with me at Design 39 campus for a tour of the school and a meeting. I really enjoyed both conversations and look forward to meeting other board members in the future. Finally, I would like to share a short story with you all tonight. My 6th grade teacher, Mrs. Kane, always encouraged us to display strong character and respect for all individuals. On the front of the whiteboard every day, there was a quote that read in perfect cursive, "The true sign of character is doing the right thing when no one is watching." Whether we are communicating with individuals in private or talking publicly to an audience, the words we say and how we say them matter. At the other side of any conversation is a person, and every person deserves to be treated with dignity and respect, and it does not matter if we agree with them or disagree with them. With this in mind, I would like to invite our board, our leaders, and our community to remember to be respectful, responsible, and positive role models. Our kids are watching and learning from us every day. Thank you.
All right, this is no longer a contest. Go ahead, Mr. Sellers.
I don't have much to report other than I did attend the county championship football game on Saturday. It was very entertaining. It was very competitive for a half. And I'm sad to report that the fork was not as fearsome as I had hoped it would be. But congratulations to Rancho Bernardo on their championship and their advancement to the state championship on Saturday. I will be there rooting them on. Go Broncos.
My report this month will be a little longer than usual. I wanted to share the good news with everyone that no one has yet mentioned, and it's wonderful to frame this in a sort of nonpartisan or bipartisan way that I think everybody, no matter what your political ilk, can get behind. The U.S. Congress voted last week overwhelmingly to reauthorize the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. In short, no child left behind is dead. So, thank you. To put it bluntly, this bill now, the approval of this bill, now it's this ESEA is what was the broader name for No Child Left Behind. Now it will be called Every Student Succeeds Act. From a California perspective, the new law is surprisingly closely aligned with the thrust of education reforms in this state, which give greater powers to local school districts and reduce the emphasis on standardized test scores in holding schools and students accountable. So the proposed law basically pares back the layers of federal control over education and gives that control back to the state as well as our local communities. This is the largest turn toward local control in 3 decades. States will regain the authority to set their own educational goals, measurements of school performance, and methods of school improvement. And as I stated, it reduces the reliance on high-stakes testing. So this is great news for all of us here. A lot of activities. It's always very busy in the month of December. Our board had, the first month of December, we had our annual California School Boards Association Annual Education Conference. It rotates between San Francisco and San Diego. It was held here in San Diego, and it's an opportunity for all of us to grow and learn about various topics affecting our kids and so that was very worthwhile, and it's also a great networking opportunity to share our ideas with other school board members from all over California. There's over 1,000 school boards. I also attended the SEIU holiday party. SEIU has 400 of our, approximately 440 of our employees belong to the union SEIU. They throw a wonderful rockin' holiday party. Thank you, Nick Lombardo, for the invitation. And I also attended the CIF Division II Championship, like Mr. Sellers. I came as a Mount Carmel fan, having 4 kids either graduated or currently going there to Mount Carmel, but was pleased that one of our PUSD schools won, Rancho Bernardo, since 2 of them were playing against each other, and very much looking forward to the state championship this Saturday at Rancho Bernardo. I also met someone from the National Football Foundation who was promoting the Scholar Athlete Awards that they do, and I did pick up a pamphlet that I'll pass on to our district administrative staff about this program to recognize scholar athletes in football programs at the collegiate as well as the high school level. As our student, Mr. Pujar, Neil Pujar mentioned, I was honored to have a tour by him and the principal of, or assistant principal of D39C, Mr. Kyle's last name I just forgot. Cooper, thank you. Wonderful tour. Yes, I'm a little obsessed with all those newfangled, neat chairs that they have. But wow, just a very impressive campus, and they're doing some really neat things. So thank you for extending that invitation and for taking the time to show me around the school and teach me about the curriculum that they're doing. And I just did want to mention to the board that after our December, very sick after our December 6th meeting, I actually went straight to urgent care, but after that I did contact the other lawyers who interviewed, and they were all very, very gracious and appreciative of the opportunity. So I wanted to let you know that I had contacted them right away, and it was all good. So, and then lastly, I just wanted to, we have recently been approving some contractual agreements for this year with our 3 bargaining units, and we've been fortunate to have an influx of additional revenues this year, and so we've generously put a substantial amount towards raises, and so I wanted to emphasize my personal desire to also make sure that we focus on the programs and services for our children, and specifically I wanted to address the extracurriculars. My husband was here receiving an award. He's a volunteer cross-country coach through the PTA at Black Mountain Middle School, and so it would be nice to have to bring back intramural sports for all of our middle school students, not just the cross country in all schools, but other sports too: wrestling, basketball, flag football, volleyball, track, and so on. And also to fully fund our soccer programs. 2 of my children were here. They just played soccer games out in Ramona. And as parents, we were asked to make a contribution of somewhere between $275 to $400 per student in order to fund an assistant coach, equipment, soccer balls, equipment repair, coaching stipends, home game expenses, athletic trainer, transportation costs, team awards. And we're told that cuts have to be made if the money isn't raised. So I do also want to ask my fellow board members to join me in supporting fully funding these very, very worthwhile extracurricular programs. And with that lengthy report, I conclude. Thank you.
I've only got a couple of things, but One person, Sue, are you still here? Stand up, please. I like the community. Keep standing. I'm gonna embarrass you. Sue has been behind the scenes as long as I can remember. She's a member of my Rotary Club in Rancho Bernardo, and she's always pushing for whatever it is, seatbelts in the bus for special ed kids, whatever the project is something to do with special ed students and programs. And I like to compliment her on all her efforts and congratulate her. She works tirelessly behind the scenes, and that's one of the reasons why some of these programs are so successful, because she's the force behind the force that gets things done. Thank you very much, Sue. The other event that I participated in was a SWAC, Safety, Wellness, Advocacy Community Coalition, SWAC, that has presented a program on bullying and sexual abuse. And it was presented to counselors, representatives from the district and various schools. And Elaine Cofrancesco was going to start trying to establish a forum with parents so that they can have some forums with the parents so they can understand what bullying and sexual abuse in the classroom means and how to handle it at home. So I want to compliment also Elaine for picking up the ball and continuing with that program. Thank you.
Thank you. My report is not lengthy, but I do have 4 items. The first of which is somewhat on a somber note. I pray it doesn't become a regular thing, but it was just, sadly, a month ago at last board meeting, or less than a month ago, that toward the end of the meeting we observed a moment of silence for victims of the Paris terrorist attack. And just less than 2 weeks ago we had a terrorist attack in San Bernardino, not far from San Diego County, where many children now, children's lives have been affected because their parents have been victims of that horrendous attack, and would like or appreciate a moment of silence on their behalf now. Thank you. Next is on a lighter note. I also attended the Mount Carmel Rancho Bernardo High School football game. I was not dressed in red. I do live in Rancho Penasquitos, but you know, if I was a wagering guy, I would have won big. I was on the sidelines with Principal LeMaster down with the Rancho Bernardo Broncos. Congratulations to them, and I look forward to attending the game this Saturday as well. Sad to hear that they put down the Bronco, though, the old Bronco, so the old mascot. Yeah. I also attended the CSBA conference that was here in San Diego, again, less than 2 weeks ago. Had the honor of participating as a moderator in one forum and a panelist in another. It was a rewarding experience. Very grateful for it. And lastly, because I'm not always particularly known for being very politically correct, and this is my board member report, I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, and to my Jewish friends, Happy Hanukkah.
I'll round this thing out. I had a great meeting with Mr. Pujar, our student board member. He takes his position very, very seriously. He has some great ideas for the next 6 months of his tenure here, and I would definitely like to see us as a board implement some of them, so stay tuned. There may be some great changes coming, courtesy of Mr. Pujar. The Educational Technology Advisory Committee, ETAC, met this past month, and actually I think it was maybe December 1st, to work out some details about 3 work groups that they're forming. Their leadership, health and safety, and technology plan. Those small work groups are going to be meeting over the next couple of months, and they're going to report out on their work at their next full meeting, which isn't until February. So they've got a couple months here to meet as many times as they like in these small groups. This committee is very, very dedicated. Those members take this very seriously. Again, I anticipate having a lot of information and recommendations that will come out of those work groups that will eventually make it into that committee's annual report to the full board here. I think they're doing great work. I look forward to see what comes out of that.
Next, I attended a lecture put on by the law school at the University of San Diego on the Vergara teacher tenure case. The keynote speaker there was one of the lawyers who was on the Vergara team, actually, and he shared some really interesting information and perspectives about that initial case, some predictions about the appeal, which hasn't been heard yet, but it's coming up. If that ruling stands, districts across the state are going to be impacted by changing laws that regarding teacher employment. So I think it's important to keep up with those things, and I know that our district is. We are ahead of a lot of the state in a lot of those areas, so hopefully the impact on our district will be smaller than others, but important to stay abreast of that, and I'm trying to do that. The California School Boards Association conference, I was there at that, attended a lot of those seminars. They were great. Spent time talking to board members from other school districts across the state. That's a benefit that's unbelievable. They do so many things the same but a little bit different than we do, and they're having success with the way they do it. We're having success with the way we do it. It's important to talk about things that we're doing slightly differently and how our outcomes might change if we changed a little bit too. So I enjoyed that. I want to highlight two of my favorite seminars from the conference, one on interest-based bargaining. It gave me some really valuable insight, I think, on the process that our district uses, in particular with our teachers. And the next one on how to be an effective board president. So I hope that'll guide me somewhat over the next year. And very lastly, last but not least, I think that sounds like almost all of us will be at RB High School for the state championship football game on Saturday. So go Broncos. Thank you. And that concludes Part B of our agenda. Next up is Part C. This is public comment. And Clerk Patapow, how many speakers do we have tonight?
I think we've got a total of 12 speakers. We have, we have a dilemma here with the library group, and we have an extra speaker. We have 6 speakers, and you're limited to 15 minutes. So I thought if it's okay with that group, I'd take the last 2 speakers on the library and let them come up together and have a minute and a half. They can have a combination, if that's okay.
The library speakers want to...
We're from Rancho Bernardo High School, and the other group is PPG.
Oh, okay. Then that's okay then. Thank you for the correction.
All right then, Clerk,
Okay.
please call the first speaker.
Our first speaker then is Reed Johnson.
Hi, I know you called Reed. I'm not Reed, but we are both talking about the same topic, so we thought we'd go quickly together, if that's okay.
Okay.
Thank you. My name is Catherine Westberg, and I am here representing robotics teams and their parents. And these are just a few of the many, many students and parents across your district whose students are taking advantage of the robotics team. The issue up is the coach's stipend, and Board Member Beatty, I appreciate your pain in talking about paying to keep soccer going. And we parents also feel a lot of pain in having to put out a lot of money and do a lot of fundraising on our own to keep the robotics coaches and the robotics program going. And you had mentioned about the technology in the school district and how that's very important. Robotics obviously helps the kids in that area. It is my understanding that the fair payment of the robotics coaches is currently between the union and the district, but the resolution of this issue is moving at a snail's pace. And the coaches, it's been 2 years now, I believe, since the coaches have been paid. We are at this meeting to show support for the sport of robotics, and just to say that robotics coaches work long hours and should be paid out of the district budget, just as the football coaches, the basketball coaches, the band directors are paid out of the a stipend out of the budget. Please do not forget the needs of these students. And thank you for ensuring that this issue will be resolved in a timely manner. and Merry Christmas.
Hi, my name is Reed, and I'm here representing Team Spider, which is one of the robotics teams in our community from Poway High. And I'm here just to give all of you guys an idea of what our team is and hopefully get you interested. So in 2005, our team started its career in FIRST, which is the main competition we compete in. We created the incentive to spread innovation and creativity throughout our community. Our team is always willing to go the extra mile to lend a helping hand to another robotics team or to anyone in the community who needs our help. We assist a total of 16 FLL teams, 40 VEX teams, and 46 FRC teams. And if you have no idea what those abbreviations mean, then I encourage you to just Google them or check out our website, www.teamspider.org. That's spider with a Y. So anyway, in 2005, our team was the only engineering program in our district and the neighboring district. But over these 10 years, we've paved the way for other robotics programs throughout our community. We've inspired and helped every school in our district and the neighboring district. And we've been successful in winning a lot of awards in our FRC program.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
You're good.
Okay.
I get it.
Two speakers. Next speaker is Catherine Westberg.
That would be me. You can move on.
You want 3 minutes? No more? Okay. Do you have anything you want to add? Okay. Yeah, we'll give you a couple minutes.
All right.
Read.
Sorry about that, and thank you for continuing to listen. We're a successful team. We've won a lot of awards in the competition we compete in, which again is FRC. And we like to think that we really serve as an inspiration and a role model to teams, schools, and school programs throughout the district. Anyway, as I've said a lot of times, we involve ourselves greatly in the community. We've hosted and participated in over 200 events to actively help out around town and create and foster an interest in the values of engineering and the sciences. We show this passion, for instance, by giving the Boy Scouts in our area a chance to earn the Robotics Merit Badge. So ever since being the first robotics team in our area, we've been waiting for opportunities like these to share our passion for robotics and STEM with other schools. We maintain strong relationships with our business partners like Northrop Grumman, BAE Systems, and General Atomics, all of the ones you can find in the back of my shirt here, or of anyone else's shirt. Our gracious sponsors provide us with the mentors we need, who are currently, of course, fighting for their stipends, to support our aggressive business plan. In a way, we consider ourselves a business as well. We have secretaries, treasurers, design teams, leadership, software, hardware teams, and the synthesis of all those is what really makes our team. And the robotics programs that we've helped to start, especially around the districts, really special. Every dollar of funding that we scramble for goes to benefiting this synthesis, and I hope you'll take the time to benefit us. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Shirley Black. Do that to me again.
My name is Shirley Black. My address is 12747 Villa Sombras, Poway. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak to you. I seem to feel like when I write my letters, I hope someone's listening. When I'm talking to you, I hope someone's listening. So since this is a season of giving, I hope you're in a giving mood. I just wanted to say that thank you for allowing me the time. I've spoken before about our organization. We're a handful of dedicated friends of the library from Rancho Bernardo. We love our organization. We work extremely hard. We have a few dedicated members. And in order to achieve what we would like to achieve, it takes a lot of work. And we don't mind doing that. We have a replacement for Ben van Wiesenhausen, who was our former librarian. We have a new librarian, and we're extremely happy because we needed someone to fill his shoes, and believe me, she does. Usually I'm speaking to you about books because my email address is the book lover for 25 years, and I refuse to change that email address. However, books are not that important right now. What's important is we need someone in our library because of the huge size of it, the square footage. We need someone to be able to participate when the students are in the library. We had a student open a computer case and remove one stick of memory. The panel that was opened was zip-tied and had to be cut in order to gain access to the inside of the computer. Now, does that tell you we need somebody in the library? We don't have enough volunteers to cover this square footage. And when we asked you to put a line item in your budget, we really felt that was necessary. If you don't give us the books, please consider a library assistant. We need someone. The volunteers can't cover all the time because they have other obligations, and they have, things that they do wherein they have to call and they would say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't make it." So please consider a library assistant or someone to help us because we really need help. And that's no reflection on the students. We have extremely good students, but sometimes they just do things they shouldn't do. Thank you. Okay.
I'm
Mason?
a partner in the library. I'm Richard Mason, Rancho Bernard High School, Friends of the Library. I was in the library last Thursday at lunch.
Mr. Mason, can you speak into the microphone?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
I was in the library for lunch last Thursday. It was packed to the gills. All the 100 computers were occupied. All the chairs were occupied in both the library and the reference room. I hear the same thing happens in the morning from between 7 and 7:30. It's full. And during the day, classes are constantly coming in, and it's heavily occupied. So I endorse Shirley's request for restoring a library assistant. Now, I'd just like to summarize what we've been trying to advocating for the libraries, restoration of the library assistants in the high schools, and in the middle schools, increasing the librarian's time from 1/2 to full time. In the elementary schools, increasing the number of hours of the library techs from 20 to 30. And I know that the budget standards can provide money for books, but I think it would be better if we had a line item in the budget for books so that all the schools would get them. Thank you.
Happy Hanukkah.
Our next speaker is Jessica Yu.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Shi. Reside in Rancho Penasquito. So thank you for the opportunity to speak in front of the board tonight. I came here tonight to speak in 2 roles. First of all, I came to speak on behalf of PUSD Parents Group. We are a fast-growing community group encouraging parent involvement in major district decision-making. We are mostly current POSD parents who share one common belief that a great school district starts with caring and devoted parents. And many of our members are active at PTAs and foundations in their own schools. Back in October and November, several of our parents and students spoke at the BOE meeting in support of restoring school library funding. We are delighted that the BOE responded very timely soon after our presentation. And I particularly would like to thank Associate Superintendent Marika Sarandi and board member Michelle O'Connor-Radcliffe for providing us very detailed information of this school year's student budget standard soon after our November presentation. We are pleasantly surprised that the board has approved an increase in student budget standard this school year, back to the level of 2007-2008 school year. And we are very encouraged by the trend. And we hope the board will continue increase student budget standard gradually back to 2000 and 2001 level. And I also wish the board could spread this good news across the district more broadly. Based on my conversation with many parents, the vast majority of parents and even some teachers, they are still unaware of this new student budget increase. And secondly, I came to speak as an individual parent in support of restoring school library funding. School libraries are a precious source for student learning, and especially in elementary schools. My two kids love going to their school library. They love reading books, and they love the librarian reading books to them. It is no doubt one of their most favorite experiences at school. So, as a parent, I'd like to urge the board to put the school library on top of the budgeting priority. Thank you.
Emily Yan.
Good evening. My name is Emily Yan. I am a fourth grader from Deer Canyon Elementary School. Today I would like to talk about the necessity of increasing library funding to Deer Canyon Elementary School. Improving learning environment in our library will help students be successful in reading and writing in the future. First of all, books are our best friends throughout our lives. We love to read for fun and knowledge. However, I noticed that many books in our library are old and short of new books. Some popular books don't have enough copies for renting, so that causes a long waiting list. This will really hurt students' enthusiasm of reading. To supply more updated with interesting topics, books such as adventures and biographies. Second, most of the people prefer to choose their favorite books to read at different ages. When I was a little girl, I liked to read fairy tale stories because I loved to lose myself with cartoon characters in a faraway fantasy world at my dream age. As I grow up, now I favor the books written by Carl Hiaasen. The story tells what occurred in the real world and inspires us to face and solve problems, but I only found 2 books written by him. Obviously, our library is a lack of variety books for students to choose. It is really necessary to buy diverse books for us to pick. Lastly, I figured out that there are no resource books provided in our library, such as dictionaries, thesauruses, and encyclopedias. It is convenient for our students to check the definition of unknown words and to understand the world. This really helps to expand our knowledge and improve our reading skill. Let's imagine this. There are a variety of updated books around our library. It attracts many kids. They always stick with the library and soak in the ocean of knowledge among books. This is what I want the library to be. I urge everyone's support of increasing library funding to schools. Thank you very much.
going to be hard to top. Kathy who?
Another student.
Oh, okay.
Hello everyone, my name is Justin and I am 6 years old from Duke Canyon Elementary School. I am here to support the library program. I like the library because the librarian, Miss Yetman, reads us books. But we do not have many new books to read. It is not fun to read the same books again and again. I want to donate money for Duke Canyon Elementary School. Can you support my library too?
Hey, Chihuahua. We have two other people that support it, but they don't want to speak. Or do you want to speak?
Oh, yes.
Are you Evian?
I'm Kathy. Kathy Ho.
I have two more cards from. Oh, Kathy. Okay, slipped in little boy. Okay. All right, Kathy, go ahead.
Good evening, board. My name is Kathy Ho. I am a parent volunteer in the PUSD parent group. I spoke in October and the November meetings, so I come back again with more kids to support us. So you noticed we bring back more younger students here. They are volunteer to come. They want to express how best the school library, what means to them, and how they want the new books put in their library. So first, I really appreciate the board's quick response on the petition of the restoring school library funding. Gladly, we learned that student budget standard was increased back to the 2007-2008 school year. But sadly, we also learned that school library funding is included in more than 10 categories fundings, and the school library funding is really dependent on each school site to allocate to each categories. We just want to come back to see how important the school library is. For today, I would especially thank Michelle, board member Michelle O'Connor-Ratcliffe, for her Facebook post. So regarding the school library funding, as Michelle mentioned in the Facebook post, going forward, you are going to push for an accounting of how each school site spent its allocation in each of the categories. We really appreciate your action, and we need to help this out. In addition to that, we have a little request as well. We, PUSD Parent Group, on behalf of the PUSD parents, we urge the board to put a separate budget line for school library funding in FY16 budget plan. So also restrict its use on school library funding only. As the petition was going, so continued until yesterday, we received additional more than 150 signatures supporting from parents across the school district. So we can submit to a board if needed, but we already submitted. So until plus the November signature, we collected about 500 parents' support from the school district. As a closing, I would like to share everyone in the room today an inspiring lecture that Michelle shared on her Facebook. I was very touched, so I want to share today. So the lecture is given by Neil Gaiman about the importance of libraries. I want to share with everyone. Libraries are about freedom. Freedom to read, freedom of ideas, freedom of communication. They are about education, about entertainment, about making safe spaces, and about access to information.
Thank you. We have two other speakers that support, but they don't want to speak, and that's Frank Zan and Evian Penny.
Can I speak for them and just use 1 more minute?
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem. So,
The next speaker is Nancy Higbee.
Hi. I'm here today to request that you adopt a program called ASK. This entails that the district send home a letter to all parents and guardians in the district. This letter suggests that parents do the following. If their child goes over to play at a friend's house, they would ask the parents at that house if they had a firearm. If the family does, they would ask if the firearm were locked up. In this way, it's hopeful to avoid the horrible tragedy of children shooting each other, themselves, and their family members by mistake. For example, an 11-year-old boy asked an 8-year-old neighbor girl to show him her puppy. She refused. She had some friends over. She was entertaining them. He then entered his home, easily found a 12-gauge shotgun. Then he fired from the house at the girl who was outside and killed her. The shotgun was in a closet without locks, and of course the gun belonged to the boy's father. This tragedy that ruined the lives of 2 families could have been avoided had the father locked up his gun. One 3-year-old shot himself while his mother was watching TV in the next room. I didn't know that a 3-year-old had the muscular ability to shoot himself. However, they do. And then I found out that a 2-year-old was in a Walmart and she took the gun out of her mother's purse and shot her mother dead. These tragedies could be eliminated if guns were locked up. It seems a very small thing to ask. Just send a letter home to the parents. It doesn't say you have to. It just says, how about doing this? How about having the conversation? If it could save one kid's life, more power to the letter. That's what we need. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Carol Landau.
Good evening. I'm Carol, and I'm continuing on what Nancy just spoke on. I'm actually going to talk to you about the Safe Storage letter, which goes hand in hand with the ASK campaign that Nancy was talking about. So back in May, the state superintendent, Tom Torlakson, sent a memo to all schools in California. He made an urgent request that schools send home a letter to parents informing them of their legal responsibilities if they are gun owners. In his memo to schools, he points out that 68% of school shooters brought firearms from home to their campus. There have been 52 school shootings this year, 21 at colleges and universities, 15 at high schools, 3 at middle schools, 10 elementary schools, 2 preschools, 1 on a school bus. This is ridiculous. In his memo, the state superintendent goes on to say that it is important to educate school communities about California's child access prevention laws. It is a crime for a person to negligently store or leave a loaded firearm where a child can easily access it. Every day in this country, there are 7 unintentional firearm deaths of children and teens. 1 in 3 homes with children also have guns. By informing parents of their legal responsibilities and educating them on gun safety, these accidents can be avoided. So what we're asking Poway Unified to do is follow through on the State Superintendent's urgent request from last May and send home the letter to parents. Many California schools have already done this, and they've had students hand carry them home. They've posted on their websites. They put them in packets that go home at the beginning of school years. So there are many ways to send home the letter on safe storage to parents. We've got copies of the memo. I think each of you will have a copy of the memo from the State Superintendent, as well as the letter in English and in Spanish. They're also posted on the County Office of Education website and on the California Department of Education website. And the California Education website has the letter also in 22 additional languages to cover parents who aren't English speakers. We ask you that you send home this as well as the ask letter as soon as possible. Heaven forbid that Poway would have a shooter on any of its campuses, but there is that what-if factor. Please, let's give parents every opportunity to make sure our children are safe. Thank you very much.
Before we move on to the next speaker, I believe that's the last one on that topic.
Yeah, one more.
I just wanted to...
One more.
Oh, there is one more on that topic?
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear from that person then.
Judy Haber?
Hi, good evening. My name is Judy Haber. I guess I'm an alumni of the district. I have two children that went to school from kindergarten all the way through high school. Turtleback, Westwood Turtleback, Bernard Heights, and RB High, and did great. And I also substitute teacher in the district, just a little personal stuff. Anyway, Carol and I are kind of the same campaign against school shootings. I'm just going to read you some information about a program called Speak Up. As we know, of course, school shootings have become routine in this country. And of course, just today, I'm sure you heard about the threat of violence against LA City schools and New York City schools. And Los Angeles took the threat seriously, suspended classes district-wide, even though that probably was a hoax. But the fact is that all threats must be taken seriously, because the mere mention of school violence conjures up images of past tragic and much publicized events, specifically yesterday, the third-year anniversary of Sandy Hook. The good news is that school violence can be prevented. We believe that the only way to break the silence that surrounds violence in the schools and communities is to give the students a voice. We are committed to not only encourage young people to speak up against violence, but to also give them the tools to make their voices heard. Speak Up, that's the name of the program, is the nation's first and only hotline for students to safely and anonymously report suspected weapon threats and threats of violence 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, by calling 1-866-SPEAK-UP, S-P-E-A-K-U-P. Speak Up was launched in 2002 by the Center to Prevent Youth Violence. It has been implemented in school districts and communities across the country. Since its implementation, it has received nearly 40,000 calls. Speak Up was inspired by the U.S. Secret Service's Safe Schools Initiative, which found in 4 out of 5 school shootings, at least one other person had knowledge of the attacker's plans, but failed to report it. In 2/3 of cases, more than one person was told of the shooter's plans, many of them friends, classmates, or siblings. Yet because students don't want to be labeled a snitch or fearful of retaliation, many threats go unreported. A survey of middle school students found that 83% would be willing to report another student with a weapon at school if they could do so anonymously. 1-866-SPEAK-UP makes it safe and easy for students to report threats while keeping their identity secret. And this is what happens when a student calls 1-866-SPEAK-UP. He or she is connected with a professional counselor who is trained to handle threat reports according to a protocol developed in collaboration with leading experts in law enforcement and education. The
you. Thank you. Oh, great. Thanks very much.
Now, John.
Okay, so now what I would like to say, and thank you, Judy. I want to let the board know that I've worked with both Carol Landale and with Nancy Higbee many, many years ago. And they're outstanding educators and are continuing their good work into their retirement, proving once again that no teacher ever really retires. And so they continue to find the causes that are important to children. This information was presented by Nancy and Carol at the last Palomar Council PTA meeting on December 1st, and we are in discussions with them about how we move forward and take these very simple steps to try and prevent both the gun safety, which should not be political. It is not about gun control. It is not about a right to bear arms. It's about safety for children. And the Speak Up program, there are other programs out there that we've seen similar to that, and I think we do need to make sure that we have something in place where people can easily speak up and help us to stop violence on our campus. It's safety is our number one goal, and you know, I don't know if you heard today, but all of LA closed their schools because of a credible threat of violence. This is way out of control, and I appreciate the work that you're doing on your own time as volunteers, as, quote, retired folks, and I appreciate that. So we will be moving forward, and we'll report back to the board. Thank you, ladies.
Our next speaker is Steve Savea.
Stone Canyon Road, Poway, California. I'd like to deviate from what I had prepared to say thank you to Ms. Beatty for pointing out the importance of wresting control of education away from the federal government and bringing it back closer to the parents. That is probably the reason why I got involved in coming to these board meetings to begin with. That is of very much importance, and thank you for pointing out the importance of that and that it's not a partisan issue. It's been a while since I've addressed this board. In my absence, there was a 4-1 vote in September to not follow the recommendation of the superintendent on what can best be described as business as usual, gratuitous buddy-buddy contracts to enrich those who Superintendent Collins favors at taxpayers' expense. For this, I personally commend and thank the 4 of you who voted in the interest of the taxpayers. I believe it was Ms. O'Connor Radcliffe who was quoted as saying, "We have a duty to the public, and the public has spoken. They want anyone involved with the cabs out. We owe it to the public to be sensitive to that. I want to do this right." These words ring very true to the voting public of PUSD. November 2014 elections were resounding evidence of this. We expect all board members to be aware of this, and we will be holding each and every one of you accountable to adhere to the wishes of the taxpaying public and the parents in this district. The cabs aside, the dysfunction of this district under the current superintendent is becoming more widely known as it becomes harder for him to cover it up and obfuscate the truth. It is having a damaging effect on the reputation of a once great district. Recent Union Tribune article, speaking of Mr. Collins, says this arrogance is again on display. It must end. It's time the Poway School Board, naming all of you, realized that a good reputation is not indestructible and that extraordinary support from the community won't last if Poway Unified keeps giving the public reason to mistrust their school district. Our parents, our teachers, and our students, and all taxpayers in the district deserve better. We urge you to accelerate the process of replacing Superintendent Collins and restoring ethics and accountability to the superintendent's office. Accountability was a theme of the last election and was even part of one of your platforms. Accountability is the new norm for how voters will judge the performance of the PUSD board members. We will be paying attention to your votes, and we will use every means of modern communication available to remind voters of these votes at election time. We appreciate you being accountable to us and comporting yourselves in this manner. I had some other things to prepare, but time looks like it's running out. I just wanted to mention that, well, I will say equally politically incorrect, Merry Christmas to all of you and your families. And my next meeting, I will address the gun safety, which I think is a very important topic. Thank you.
Next speaker is Wayne Ronsell. Savel.
Good evening. I'm Wayne Rounseville. I live in Poway, California, in the Poway Unified School District. And I've got a couple of things I added tonight as I listened to the progress of our meeting. First, I want to go to Westview High School. I played dodgeball from the time I was in kindergarten to probably a senior in high school. I thought it was a misdemeanor to do that anymore, and I thought, wow, they've got a club that does it or something. It's really great. I also want to commend a young man that spoke here about the libraries and make a point that he spoke without notes. Very few people I've seen come up here speak without at least some little help. That was pretty amazing to me. Okay, what I want to talk about tonight is the what I call hostile attitude towards public speakers by the board and the administration. I was the victim of an incident several months ago where our presentation was interrupted, and I see that the rule that was invoked sort of as a surprise that night, that one speaker cannot speak on two topics, was enforced rudely, and it was total out of the blue information to me, but I wrote a letter to the board and to the district administration about that, and I've never received an answer. I think your performance has improved. However, I just feel that there's a hostility against people who come here to talk to you. A good example is the continuing reports in the newspapers about how a small, tiny group of people who are hostile towards the school district, and I'm included in that group, continue to, talk this and that. I just wanted to let you know that that small, little, tiny group now consists of over 2,000 people, including a growing number of Poway Unified School District employees. That's 2,000 people. We're going to be pretty soon in numbers bigger than the favorite speakers I hear from the teachers union, and that's one of our goals. I think that some speakers receive special treatment and exceptions to the protocols and things like that, like when somebody stands up and says, well, I represent 50 people or something like that. They get an exception, they get more time or whatever it is, and I don't think I represent 2,000 people. I don't want 2,000 times 3 minutes worth of your time. Anyway, the repeat speaker I noticed tonight was not.
Marcia Dodson.
Good evening, Board. I'm Marcia Dotson from Rancho Penasquitos. I'm here as the co-founder of Concerned Parent Alliance Incorporated and College Bound. And I really first want to thank you, Mr. Prajar, for what you said, because as I was sitting back there, and one of the reasons I'm here tonight is not necessarily as the co-founder of Concerned Parent Alliance, but just concerned about some of the things I've been seeing with the board proceedings. And, I've been a member of this community for over 20 years. I've got 3 kids that have, graduated, 2 that are out of the state of California on their own, doing very well because of Poway had a lot to do with that. I have a special needs daughter who's sitting here today who is just amazing, partly because of the special ed program in Poway. A lot of that under Dr. Collins. So when I come to the board meetings and I sit at home and I watch the live stream and I understand through the freedom of speech that everybody has a right to say what you want to say, but a lot of it has to do with respect and the tone. And so I understand now it looks like looks like it's going to be a 3-2 maybe vote kind of going forward. That's not a bad thing. Maybe it'll be 2-3, 3-2, whatever it might be. But if we respect everybody's decisions, the reasons why they vote the way they vote, the reasons why people say what they say, even though I'm not in agreement with the Garnier family, Chris or Kim, in the way that they speak about Dr. Collins, I still respect them. I still hug them when I see them. My daughter Camry embraces them like they're close family members, because that's what you do. You respect, and that's how I was brought up. My dad was a military officer. It was a yes sir, yes ma'am environment. My mom was an educator, a French teacher, a counselor. There's 7 of us. We all went to college, so we had no choice. It was and then you do something with yourself. So in this community, we just have to find a way to treat each other like in College Bound. We say, I want to treat people the way I want to be treated. So I would never come up here and degrade anybody, any board members, any of the cabinet, Dr. Collins. Never would I do something like that. I might not agree with some of the policies in the district or some of the things that happen, but I respect the position. Ms. Ratcliffe, you're now the president. I respect you as you're in the position of president. So and that's how I think we should all treat everybody who sits in a certain position. You as a board appoint a superintendent. That's the way the process works. If you don't want a superintendent in a position, there's a process for that, through elections that we elect the board to be able to appoint a superintendent. So if we follow that, and Mr. Pajur, as our young folks are watching, they're watching the way we react with each other, because they're going to react that way in their lives as fathers, as mothers. And it's just important, I think, going forward, that if we could just get along and understand that everything will be a lot better if we just respect each other going forward. Thank you.
Mark Davis.
Mark Davis, 15654 Riparian Road, Poway. Amen to what that lady just said. She's awesome. That was great. First of all, before I begin, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, wonderful holidays to all of you. You've had a trying year, and bless your hearts for working so hard and doing all that you do. It's thankless. And to the new leadership, God bless you. Good luck. I had not planned on speaking to the board tonight, and this is kind of out of turn for what I normally speak about, but I don't know why you pulled those items in closed session. So I think you'd probably deserve some type of an explanation to the public. For one reason, those items weren't on the closed session agenda, so you didn't have any right to come in here and announce it in closed session. You had pulled 5 agenda items since those couldn't have been voted on in closed session. I'm not quite sure operationally how that happened. So again, it's my belief that we probably should have some discussion on that. You certainly can pull it in open session, right? The item comes up and someone makes a motion to say we table it, and another person seconds it, and you vote on it and you table it. You can totally do that. But since they're not on the closed agenda, they're not the 4 items that you were covering in closed session. I don't know how you can come and report that you pulled those in closed session, since they couldn't have been acted on in closed session. And on a couple of the items, this is the second month now that the associate superintendent's contracts have been on there. I mean, you're just extending the contract. You're not giving them a raise. So I don't know why that'd be pulled. The SEIU contract, you've already approved it. SEIU's approved it. The county's already authorized it and said you're within budget. You've got a 3% raise plus perks, and now it feels like the Grinch who stole Christmas and you're pulling it back from SEIU. APSM I kind of get, because it looks like you're in negotiations with the superintendent, and so that has some ramifications if something happens there, and so maybe you have to tell all the APSM folks, hey, we got to back off because we're doing other negotiations, and we'll move forward with that in a bit. But anyway, I like y'all, and normally I don't whack you, but this seems like you're out of order here, and I'd like, if possible, to have some comment on it. And then again, maybe once you get all those things sorted out, could we get our teacher contract done too? We've had PSEA's been done for a month or two. I mean, SEIU's done. Let's get the teachers done and get back to teaching. Okay, that's it.
As a brief comment to that, and only very brief, we're not going to address that at length. Council did recommend that we pull those based on discussion of closed session items having to do with those items. And we do have a tentative agreement with our teachers union. We're waiting for the vote. So that's all I want to say about that.
Next speaker is Patty Hurt.
Hello, I'm Patty Hurd. I'm the assistant principal at New Directions, and I'm also the APSM president. And I'm extremely proud and honored to represent such hardworking APSM members, such as our ESS supervisors, our food service supervisors, our counselors, our psychologists, our APs, our principals, our directors, our executive directors, and so on. And I would be remiss if I didn't come up and respectfully request your help in understanding why our agenda item D202, which was the approval of compensation increase for members of our Association of Poway School Managers who are unrepresented employees, why that was pulled from the agenda, especially in light of PSEA and SEIU agreeing to their contract and with PFT in a tentative agreement with their contract. I believe it's very important to the morale of our team members for them to have a good understanding of how you pulled this and why you pulled it from the agenda. And thank you for your time. I respect you guys immensely. Thank you.
Thanks for the applause on that. I don't believe that as a board we can address that question. The Brown Act won't allow us to do that at this point. Hopefully we can get back to you maybe individually to speak about that on a one-on-one basis at a later date. So thank you very much. And we have one more speaker.
Dr. Darlene Willis.
Good evening. Even though I have all my college-bound stuff, I'm actually representing myself as a parent and a guardian now in this district for my great nephews that are 3 and 7, so I'm going to be here for a while. But I just want to say to the 5 board members, first of all, congratulations to the officers. But I want to say you kind of get information from the same people all the time. But I don't want you to think that they are representing everybody out in the community. Don't get me wrong, I've had my challenges with Poway, and sometimes we don't realize what we have. And John Collins is an excellent superintendent. Is he perfect? Absolutely not. But you were elected based on your experience and history. That's why we elected you. We didn't elect you on any hidden agendas. And where the speaker said there's over 2,000 people they represent, there's another 40,000 that could also be in this room. And so I want you to think, I'm not telling you how to do it or what to do, but just make an informed decision, not off of personal agendas or people upset. And as Marcia said, I know the Garniers, I respect them as well, but I respectfully disagree with them. And I disagree with the people that are coming here talking about John Collins, who bends over backwards. I've seen it now for almost 18 years. And again, he's not perfect. But his staff is doing the best that they can. And from what I hear from the other speakers, this has become so overshadowed in this district, you can't even get the regular business done of what you were elected to do. When contracts can't be signed by people, that means that something else is too overwhelming. And why people can't come together and work it out. It's personalities, but please don't get involved in all of that. You were elected for a reason, And the same people who represent those 2,000, there's counterparts that will disagree with them. And we're not here for personal. We agreed a long time ago, don't get involved in personnel issues because you'll never know the whole story. But vote according to your conscience and vote according to what's happening in this district. It is seen as one of the best districts in the country. And I hate to see it broken down this way because people don't agree. So I am appealing to you all, the 5 of you that make this decision. Don't rush to do something without having all of the facts, and make sure you talk to everybody, not just to the 2,000, but talk to the other 40,000 that do believe in this district, and the graduates like Ashley Grisham that was sworn in on last Sunday, that passed the bar for the first time, like Kiara Hill that has been accepted to Howard Dental School. There are some great examples in this district. So please, 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 I ask that you not rush to judgment and quit letting people come and influence your decisions. I voted for you, and I'm looking too, and so are others. We can do this. John's not perfect, but he is a great superintendent, and his staff is a great staff. So please remember that. God bless you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you to all the speakers, and we're going to call a 5-minute recess now. Thank you.
Calling all board members. It's been 10 minutes.
A long 5 minutes.
It's government time.
Yeah. Oh, okay. A good evening. And a good break if we don't see you. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Set that down, Mr. Pato. Okay. All right, and we are back. We are on to Section D of our agenda, and this includes all our action items. Tonight we have, let's say 9 action items, plus the one pulled from our consent calendar by Mr. Zane. So let's start on our first action item. This is item 101 regarding ratification of stipulated agreement for student expulsion. We have 2 cases, the details which are confidential, and the recommendation is that the board approve and ratify both stipulated agreements for expulsion. Before I ask for a motion, any questions for Dr. Robertson about this recommendation? Dr. Robertson, do you have anything to add?
I have to present it to you.
Okay, I'm learning.
All right, Madam President and Board, tonight we bring forward 2 stipulated agreements for your action.
Are there any questions for Dr. Robertson? I'll ask again.
Motion to approve.
Second.
On a motion by Board Member Zane, seconded by Mr. Patapow. All in favor? Oh, I should ask for, is there any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor?
Do we have to vote on them separately, or can we vote on
I
them?
think we'd better.
Okay.
Good point.
All right.
Although they are all on the same green sheet. Would you like us to break them apart?
No, I have no preference. I was just asking.
Okay. Then on the motion to approve both recommendations, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And the motion passes unanimously. Moving on. All right. Next up is item 201, ratification of the Service Employees International Union 2015-16 tentative agreement. I'm not going to skip over you this time. Tracy Hogarth presenting.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight, for final approval, the ratification of SEIU's union contract negotiations for 2015-16. Tonight, we have Mr. Nick Lombardo, the president from SEIU. I'd like to thank him and his team for their hard work and collaboration with the Poway Unified team, which is also chaired by the Director of Human Resources, David Hall. Thank you very much for all your hard work, both of you. Now it's yours.
All right, and at this point, are there any questions for Ms. Hogarth about the recommendation?
Move to approve. Second.
And any discussion?
Since we do have the president of SEIU here, sir, would he like to address the board?
Oh, yeah.
Please come forward.
3 minutes. We're strict around here.
Nick Lombardo, Poway, California, president at SEIU. The first thing I want to say is when we voted, okay, we had, out of all the voting members, we had 2 no votes. Okay, my bargaining unit and all my members were very happy with the contract, especially with the eliminating of the tiers in the health and welfare. Also the raise, okay, they were very happy with that. Some of these things, like the health and welfare, is literally put over $500 a month in some of our members' pockets, especially the ones with families. Okay, this was huge to them. Okay, the other thing that we had was the increase in vacation. Okay, we didn't go after increase in vacation to give people more time off. That wasn't the point. The point was people that are here 1 to 3 years get 10 days vacation. especially 9.5-month employees, when you have 15 district recess days. These people, it's 5 days without pay. So that was our point of trying to get them to 15 days, just so they could break even, okay? So we took a step, okay, and we moved forward. We're still looking at trying to get these guys out of the hole. For the most part, a lot of these people are 3 3/4 hour employees. Okay, some of them aren't even 6-hour employees. So the fact that they got 2 more days with pay, okay, is a big thing to them. But like I said, we weren't there for getting people more time off. Just wanted them to break even. We started this back in February, and we negotiated 4 articles. We are having the whole contract open for this negotiations. If you do the math, that means it's going to take us about 3 years and 4 months to get through this. We know that that's ridiculous. I know it is. It is going to be a little bit more complicated because we're both going to have things that we want to see negotiated, both the district and SEIU. Okay. The things that we would like to see changed is, if not having somebody in negotiations that can make a decision instead of us making a proposal and then waiting a month to get an answer, okay? If we can't get people in there that can make a decision, then what we need is meeting more periodically than what we are, okay? Once a month or even twice a month isn't going to get it done. We need to address this, and we'll do that in our negotiations coming up. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion from board members? And thank you, Mr. Pujar. Good night. Have a nice break. All right, seeing no more discussion, then I will hear a motion.
It's been moved and seconded.
No, I don't believe it had. Oh, it did. It was.
Has it?
Excuse me. That's
Oh,
correct.
okay. Okay, so-
On a motion by Mr. Zane, seconded by Mr. Padapow. Sorry. On a motion by Mr. Padapow, seconded by Mr. Zane.
It's late.
Shall we ratify SEIU's tentative agreement? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes unanimously. Yay. Although we pulled item 202, given the speakers who aren't here anymore anyway, I'd like to bring this back. Approval of compensation increase for members of Association of Poway School Managers, unrepresented employees. I'd like to give a member of the board a chance to pull this item again and have the vote here in open session. And if necessary, if you'd like to make a comment, I invite you to do so. Motion to table. We already pulled it, so.
I guess technically it wasn't tabled per se at the beginning. It was announced that it was pulled. But I guess to the extent that that may have been out of order, we have an opportunity to rectify it here. It's still on the agenda.
It's not out of order. We've done that in the past.
How often does that happen?
If it's tabled, it needs to be tabled with a return date. I question the legal basis for the board pulling items out of the agenda in closed session without the superintendent in the room and just saying, oh, they're not going to happen tonight. And what that did, and now the people who were affected by it are gone. So at this point, I think you're better off to leave it alone.
No, the purpose of addressing this now is to the extent that it was out of order potentially earlier, attempting to rectify it within the same meeting and going through a formal motion to table.
If
now.
you do table, you need to name the date that you're going to bring it back. Otherwise, you just let it die for lack of a motion.
I'll entertain a motion of any kind at this point.
TJ, correct me if I'm wrong. My understanding is that the motion to table, it's just tabled. And it can be brought up at the next meeting. It does not have to. I don't believe it has to be tabled with a date certain, does it?
I believe parliamentary procedure says if you table an item, you must say, and it will be reconsidered, and give a date. Otherwise, you're not tabling it. You can't table an item without a date when you're going to reconsider it. I don't believe that's allowed, but.
I think earlier this year we had a tabled issue that came back the following month and wasn't picked up from the table, and then it died. So it was tabled.
Because it was scheduled for the next meeting, and it didn't get picked up, so then it died. But at least you have to say, when are you going to do that? When is it going to appear on the agenda again?
Well, it appears that we have a disagreement about what is the appropriate procedure here. So again, I'll entertain a motion to table with date certain, a motion to table without date certain.
I'll make a motion to table it without a date certain.
I'll second.
Any discussion? This is an opportunity to take up the invitation to explain the reason for the tabling. Mr. Sellers.
I'll give it a try. It was felt that considering...
Wait, I would like to caution you, don't repeat closed session discussions. Speak for yourself.
Okay. That's what I do best. It was my feeling, anyway, that it was inappropriate to consider the APSM contract prior to approval of the teacher's contract, because the APSM is an informal Me Too with the teachers. And although the teacher's contract, the tentative agreement, has been ratified, it has not actually been approved by the board. And just like we did last spring, we approved the teacher's contract, and immediately thereafter we voted on the APSM contract. That was how I would imagine it going this time as well. When the teacher's contract comes before the board and is voted on, the immediate next item would be to vote on the APSM contract.
Okay, so we're putting it
Additional comments?
Well, then what's going to happen is that, do we piggyback it on the ratification of the teacher's contract? We have it at the same time so that we can vote on it then?
We have no time certain on picking it up from the table on this motion.
Right, so I'm just going to say...
What Mr. Sellers is suggesting is that it may happen after the teachers' union item is placed on the agenda.
If we honor John's request as far as having a date, why can't we just piggyback at the same time that we're going to ratify the teacher's agreement, that we take this up, put the item following the teacher's ratification? Is that all right? All right with that?
I distracted him.
No, but if we just put it, we have the teacher's contract coming up, okay? Why can't we just say agendize the APSM right after the teachers, so we can vote on that following the teacher's ratification?
That's fine.
That assumes the teachers will be ratifying the contract.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope.
Yeah, I have no problem bringing it up for a vote immediately after the teachers are up for a vote, and that it doesn't say that we're going to pass it. It doesn't say we're not going to modify it.
Right.
It just says
We
it's
just
going to be.
bring it up.
And I just simply felt it was inappropriate to deal with APSM prior to resolving the contract with the teachers.
Right, so then this will take care of that.
I think the absent members would like to understand that rationalization. Why do they have to wait for teachers? The two classified unions have settled. You made a tentative agreement with the teachers. Why do they have to wait?
Well, there really was never a discussion of the APSM contract, the contract with them in closed session. We've never had that.
Yes, there was.
There is no contract. They don't have an exclusive bargaining rep.
Can I weigh in here? There was never any discussion at all by the board in closed or open session about APSM's contract. It was simply put on the docket for approval for this particular.
The board authorized
I would caution
Negotiating team.
everyone to refrain from talking about closed session information at this point.
Okay.
Suffice it to say, from my perspective, and consistent with Board Member Sellers' comments, it was board consensus that from a procedural standpoint, it would be a lot smoother and cleaner if we address this consistent with the timing of the approval of other bargaining units agreements.
Mr. Zane, may I ask a question? And Ms. O'Connor, then I can prepare a green sheet for APSM at the same time that I prepare the green sheet for the Poway Federation of Teachers if they ratify their contract?
I think
we're about to take a vote on that.
I think
I
that's
just want to
exactly
get
right.
it clear. Thank you.
So the amended motion now is to table this to time certain whenever we have the Poway Federation of Teachers contract to ratify.
That's friendly to the second as well.
I think we'd
Right, and it's not content specific. It doesn't say that this specific motion is coming back.
No, we're talking
Doesn't
about
say
a time certain
a schedule
that
now.
we will
Sure, that's absolutely fine.
consider this again.
Correct.
Okay, so that is the motion. We have a second. We're good to go with our vote, or do we want more discussion here? Okay, let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you.
My next question would be, the next three items were also pulled that I submitted.
No. We have a
about
budget authorization. We have budget, first interim budget comes first.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So moving to item 301, we have approval and certification of the first interim financial report and approval of Resolution 21-2016 entitled Authorization to Revise the 2015-16 Budget as reflected in the first interim financial report. Ms. Thalandi.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight we are very proud to be presenting the first interim report. This is the financial report as of the first quarter. In school districts, we call it the first interim. I want to take a minute to thank our Director of Finance, Joy Romero, for doing this work and doing it on time. Today is the county deadline, by the way. It was challenging, more so this year because of the new software, PeopleSoft, that we are using right now, but Joy was able to handle that challenge and finish the report. By law and by county office regulations, we have to submit in electronic form the formal report to the Board of Education, and that is the standardized account code report that we sent to you. We also sent the multi-year projection in the state format, as well as the cash flow and the criteria and standards. Those forms will be uploaded after they are audited by the county office to the State Department of Education. But in addition, we have also provided the Excel format because that's what our board is used to, and we've got all the revisions in for the month of October, and we are presenting the first interim. If there are any questions on the multi-year projection, I'll be glad to answer them.
Any questions? Ms. Beatty.
This may be a Dr. Robertson question, but there were some line items under employee benefits, and it mentioned the full-time equivalent certificated staff. And so I was wondering if you could just, again, I know you've mentioned before, what are roughly what would have been the additional staffing that we've been able to bring back, and specifically, what are the class sizes now, in the elementary and secondary schools? Just rough estimates at this point with the staff that we've been able to bring back.
Are you talking about actual number of FTEs we've brought back? Because that would take a little bit of time. I mean,
just based on what are our class sizes right now? Just roughly.
Okay, so at the high schools, they need to be under 40, and core classes and freshman classes are even lower. They're targeted around 34, 35. In our middle schools, a lot of the cores are under 30 or 30, 31. So I'd say between a 27 to a 31, 32 kind of a range. And at the elementaries, it breaks down, and Eric will know this better, but I'm going to guess it around fourth and fifth at around 34, 33. I'm sorry, I just don't. I mean, if I could look it up, I could tell you we have these numbers.
Fourth and fifth caps at 31, and caps at 33, but has a staffing ratio of 31, so the average is 31. TK is staffed at 24.5 with a cap of 25. KN1 has a ratio of 24.5 with a cap of 26. 2-3 is staffed at 25 with a cap of 27.
Great. So we've made some huge improvements then, right?
We
I mean, this is a
absolutely have.
substantial improvement from the last couple of years. It sounds like.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you.
Eric?
Thank
Mr. Sellers.
Well, I wouldn't want to disappoint Malika by not having any questions for her. I just have three. I'm pretty sure I know the answers to them, but I thought it would be good to elucidate for the record what those answers are. On page 2 of 3, under criteria and standards, we have 3 items that have not been met. And I wonder if you could walk us through why we haven't met those and what the significance of not meeting those is. One of them actually looks like a good thing that we haven't met.
Yes, Mr. Sellers, page 2 of 3, item number 4, we have not met. And what the criteria there is that the projected LCFF revenue hasn't changed by more than 2%. And the reason it changed in our district is because if you remember last month, I reported that we had been using the SSC's projection of 12-point-some%, and now we have switched to the Department of Finance rates. That was the change. It's a positive change, but nevertheless, it pulls up as an exception in this report. And then the second item that is not met is item 6B under other expenditures, whereby we are asked why projected operating expenditures for the current and 2 subsequent fiscal years changed by more than 5%. The answer to that is, if you remember in 15-16, we have one-time revenues of $18 million. And so we have budgeted an expense to balance that. In 16-17, we reversed it out because we are not budgeting one-time monies in 16-17. So that's the difference. And then in 17-18, in our budget, in the multi-year, we are showing that we are going to make cuts. Again, the expenditure changes. So that's why it shows up as an exception. It was that clear, or were there any questions?
No, I understood. Well, and that and you know we're spending more money on books and supplies because we have the money to spend. So that's a good thing, as Martha Stewart would say. It's a good thing. And number 8, deficit spending.
Item number 8 is regarding deficit spending, and they look only at the unrestricted deficit spending in this criteria and standards report, and they say that if you have exceeded. It marks it as not met the standards. The standard for our district is calculated at 1/3 of available reserves. Okay, so they take 1/3 of what our reserves looks like, and in 16-17, our deficit should be 2%, but we are at 5.4%. So that's why we are marked as something to watch.
And again, that has gotten better.
Yes,
so
it is getting better.
So these I was going to use an accounting term, but that's
indicators.
Indicators. Right, but yes, the metrics that we're measuring, they're all going in the right direction.
Yes, they are. If you are interested, if you look at the 26-page document that I put in your board folder, criteria and standards, it will reflect the explanation of these.
Michelle and I are going to go read that right after this meeting.
It is interesting.
Well, actually, I'll have to read it to her. I don't know that she'll be able to read after the meeting.
Well, actually, what it does is it gives you the trends and analysis going back 2 years and moving forward 2 years. And that's what we look at to gauge where we are at. So.
Can I just follow up on that? Because you said that was trending in the right direction, but we're looking at the outlying years' projected deficits. Can you address that?
Yes,
as non-accountants?
Well, what happens in our district, because we are what is considered a low-funded district, even though LCFF has been generous to other districts, LCFF revenues is not sufficient to keep up with the cost of inflation in our district, as well as the added expenses that we have. And we have what is called the workload budget, which increases every year: utilities, special education, health and welfare, step and column. These are items that do increase every year, no matter what we decide. And we do not have the revenues to continuously supporting that. The last 3 years, our revenues have increased, and next year will probably be our highest increase, about $24 to $25 million in unrestricted revenues. After that, it will taper off, because we would have reached the LCFF goal in 2021.
So, in looking at this, it looks like that workload budget year over year goes up about $8 million. It used to be about $6 million, but it looked like from these numbers it was about $8 million.
It's about between 6 and 7.5 million, Ms. Beatty. We do control the expenditures where we can, and we have negotiated very good health and welfare rates for the past 3 years. All of those are going to help. So if you look at the deficit itself, it used to be in the 20 millions, and it is coming down.
But we could run into trouble when, as you said, it flattens out. Our revenue stream flattens out, and then our workload budget keeps going up every year. We're committing ourselves, as we've discussed quite a bit this evening, we're committing ourselves to these, additional compensation packages. So what happens in those outlying years after it tapers off in 16, 17?
Well, reading the fiscal services report and looking at revenues that are happening this year, the state has underprojected their revenue. So it is going to increase. Department of Finance projection is low. So what the governor is proposing to do in his January budget, it hasn't been published as yet, but what we hear from school services is that the district is going to receive additional one-time monies. We are to receive monies for this year, but we will get it next year, and so on. But we don't count on that as yet. To answer your question about our increase in compensation, for our district, we have to stay competitive with the neighboring districts. It is challenging. We cannot give 6% like Vista Unified just did, but we are managing the best with what we have to keep the staff, the quality staff, wanting to work in our district.
And I have some, I'm not sure it's quite, I hate to disappoint you, Charles, I already looked at it. And laid it next to the first interim from last year. And there, looked back at my notes, and it makes a lot of sense to me now, but I wanted to just give you an opportunity to tell me what I should have seen in there, just in case I didn't. Things that are different this year than they were last year. Because it looks like a normal progression, and the things that I asked about and learned last year look like they apply again. But I just want to ask you if there's anything that should have popped out at me when I looked at those.
Well, when you are reviewing the budget, the first thing you would look at is the enrollment overstated? Because we could do that and overstate enrollment or attendance to make the budget balance. That's the first check that you would do. And then the second check, is the revenue projection reasonable? And we have been reasonable. We are still maintaining School Services of California recommendation for revenues in the last year in 17-18. If we want to take a risk, we could do the DOF rates, but we will not do that at this time. As far as expenditures, 85% of our expenses is in people. We are a people industry. We do the utmost to make sure that every person is accounted for. And the health and welfare changes that Mr. Nick Lombardo just spoke about, that's going to affect the budget. We have to make sure that all those people and the families are covered, and we have done that. ADA projection, revenue, expenditures, ending balance, and then whether the district is maintaining ample reserves in case of an emergency. Those are the points that we look for.
Any other questions for Ms. Lalonde? Then I will entertain a motion at this point.
Move to approve.
And a motion by Ms. Beatty, second by Mr. Sellers. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? And any abstentions? This passes unanimously. Great. Next we have item D302 is a public hearing and approval of resolution number 19/2016 entitled Dedication of an Easement to the City of Poway at Meadowbrook Middle School. I believe I should give this to Ms. Lalonde before opening the public hearing. All right.
I'll just give a brief description, Madam President. At the November 16th meeting, the board had authorized that we will be holding a public hearing at tonight's meeting. This is the City of Poway has requested an easement in our property that's by our Meadowbrook Middle School. And that property, it's about, we do not use that for our students. And Mr. Michael Tarantino informed me that the neighborhood is starting to use it as a dumping ground. So rather than do that, we'd rather that the city make use of it, and they will take care of the maintenance from now on. And it is a public hearing.
So at this time, I'd like to open our public hearing on this agenda item. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak on this item, and this item only? 10-9-8-7-6-5-4-3-2-1. All right. Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. So back to our item here. The recommendation is that the board approve the attached resolution dedicating that easement to the City of Poway at the Meadowbrook Middle School site. We've seen the maps. We've had an opportunity to ask questions over the past month or two. 1 month. Okay. So is there a motion?
Motion to approve the most controversial item on the agenda this evening.
I'll second that controversial item.
On a motion by Mr. Zane, seconded by Ms. Beatty. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Anyone abstaining? Motion passes unanimously. All right. Now we're on to item 303. This is to award contracts for requests for proposal 2015-07P legal services as revised. I will go to Ms. Lalonde.
Thank you, Madam President. So we should have a revised green sheet for this agenda item. We had made a mistake on the attorney firm's name that we have not done business in the past, so we have corrected it in this sheet. This is the final step in the RFP process that the board had directed us to do in October. Director of Purchasing, Janae Greenlee, has finished the work. She has completed the review of the 12 responses to the RFP. The grading sheet has been attached so that the board can see the different categories and the different specialities of the firms. The 12 that are mentioned here will now form the pool of attorneys that, as the need arises, we can make contracts with them.
Are there any questions from the board for Ms. Lalonde?
I just wanted to thank you, Ms. Lalonde, for you and your team, Purchasing Director Greenlee, for putting this together so expeditiously on behalf of the board. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, then I would ask for a motion.
Okay, I'll second.
And discussion. Mr. Zane.
No slight intended whatsoever to the hard work done by you and Ms. Greenlee, but in having read the green sheet and having just completed a process whereby the board just retained a special counsel, I see no personal immediate reason to retain additional legal firms at this time, and would personally prefer to come back and address this in May at the time when it's closer to when the other legal firms under retention by the district come up for renewal, and perhaps add them to the mix at that time. In my preference.
So we're not committing any dollars per se. It's really a vetting process. So they've gone through the screening where it says, you know, they are eligible to provide services. So it's a competitive process where we can, you know, get the best firm at the best price. So why not add? We're adding 2 more basically. So
the beauty of the way in which Ms. Lalonde crafted this is that even if we were to decide to come back and retain one of these firms in the May timeframe, their rates are locked in through June of this year.
Yes. Well, what happens is if we issue a contract to any of the new ones or the ones that we haven't used this year, by June 30th of this year, the rates are locked till June 7, 2017.
Right.
But if we wait till after June 30th of this year, they have the freedom to increase their rates. What I would like to recommend, since this was an RFP process, a legal process that we issue documents to, and the 14 that requested RFPs, but the 12 that responded, do it in good faith, thinking that the district will finish this process. We are not asking that we issue any contracts. We are not tying any dollar amounts, but in good business sense, we should approve the process so that we don't bring it back. So that if an attorney were to call me, I will truly say yes. If there is a need, the board has authorized me to issue a contract, but only if there is a need and only if they meet that specific criteria.
You're very persuasive.
Thank you.
I'm left with one additional thought then. Reading the last sentence in the green sheet, recommendations based on evaluation of these responses and staff recommendations will be included at the June meeting.
Yes.
Which is to say that for the new firms on here, of which there are 4 who are not currently under contract with us, we are not receiving an evaluation for any of those firms.
We have the evaluation on the listing sheet, on the grading sheet for the new 4 firms included.
Okay,
But
well,
we are
there are
not-
checkmark boxes, but not any real evaluation except for what they said they would do. Is there going to be additional vetting of these firms before June?
Well, normally, if they have met the specifications that we asked them to qualify for and their paperwork, which they sign off as being accurate to the best of their knowledge, that means they do qualify. Now, what we can decide on later is the price factor. If 2 firms qualify, but one comes in at $300 an hour and one is at $200 an hour, we might consider it at that time. We are not required to send contracts to anybody, but in June, we will be bringing all the contracts to the board.
So in theory, there are not recommendations here based on evaluations, but...
There are a pool of attorneys that...
But you're satisfied that they met the requirements?
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion here? Okay, then I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Well, don't we
Nope.
move?
We already had a motion.
There was a motion, wasn't
And a second.
To accept
Okay. Okay. Yep.
Sorry, I should restate that motion. There was a motion by Mr. Patapow and a second by Ms. Beatty.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thanks for telling me.
To award contracts based on the RFP 2015-07P for legal services. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? It passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, at this point, we have the 3 items that the board also asked to...
The item that was pulled, 306.
Yes.
6.
Oh, I was going to do that at the end, but I can put it in place here if everyone prefers. Let me get it in there.
Yes.
Mr. Zane pulled item 306, approval ratification of contractual services report number 5-2016. This is for Ms. Lalonde, but I guess I'll pass it off to you to ask for questions.
Thank you, Madam President. Is there a question on a particular one, Mr. Zane?
Again, I'm not picking on you, Ms. Greenlee, this evening. It's just pursuant to some emails that were exchanged this afternoon, I wanted to pull this from consent so that at least we were on record as approving this contingent. That is the contract with Ms. Medina, contingent upon receipt of proof of insurance.
That is correct. I did have a chance to speak with Ms. Medina this evening, and she confirmed that she was in contact with her insurance agent, trying to get the agent to email us the document and then follow up with the hard copy. But I was just checking my email, and it has not happened. So in order to protect the district, though we are approving the contract, I would like to respectfully request that we sign the contract after we get the insurance. It's not to say that I don't trust anybody, but it is just good business sense to.
Couldn't agree more, and that's the reason for pulling it from consent, was to have this conversation and have this agreement.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's your job not to trust anybody. And you do it well.
Any other questions on this item before I take a motion?
Motion to approve.
With the
condition that the proof of insurance is received from Ms. Medina.
Okay. And does your second still stand, Ms. Beatty?
I'll second, yes.
Okay. Any discussion at this point? Okay, so on a motion by Mr. Zane, second by Ms. Beatty, this is a motion to ratify these contractual services, the contractual services report, the item with Ms. Medina, contingent upon receiving proof of her insurance. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? All right, this item passes unanimously. Okay, now we are on to the three items that ask the board to extend the employment agreements of the three associate superintendents for one additional year. We did say that we were going to pull this from the agenda again in respect for the speaker who is no longer here. I would invite a motion now to table those again, or to provide an explanation of any kind. Anyone wishing to speak to this motion, to this item? Mr. Sellers.
This item was the subject of the closed session docket, so it was properly discussed in closed session, and we were within our bounds to pull it. In trying to explain it as well as I can without crossing the closed session line, we have a lot of discussions going on right now about the leadership of our district and the contract arrangements for that leadership, and some of those things are still in flux and contingent, and we didn't feel it was appropriate to formalize the extension of the associates contracts until some of those issues were resolved.
Any other comments on that? I'd like to make a quick one. I don't want to say that Mr. Sellers speaks for me entirely on this. Our discussion was in closed session. I did have some concerns about a couple items in these contracts that I would like to see some amendment, and to do that we need a little bit more time. That's my personal reason for wanting to see this tabled. So do I have a motion or any further discussion, I guess?
I'm going to echo the same thing. Just a personal preference to see some provisions amended prior to adoption.
And I would add that I would like to see this done quickly, and I think we can do that, but we've got to get that going, and we hopefully set some things in motion. So I will hear a motion at this point.
The motion to table all three items.
Is there any objection to tabling all three items at once? 601, 602, and 603. All right, is there a second?
I'll second and ask the question, do we want, again, we had specified a time certain for APSM. Whereas this may not be related to that per se, we have no way of knowing exactly how long it might take to come to an agreement on amendments. So how do we schedule time certain, or just able to January?
I think at this point we just have to table it. We had previously discussed that we
Don't have to.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you all for respecting the Brown Act. I know sometimes it's hard. All right, so I will have a vote here on tabling items D, 601, 602, and 603, all in the same motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Okay, the motion to table all three of those items passes unanimously. We have made it down to F, our first read items, and let me see. Oh, there are none tonight. Hooray. Item G, information items. No action may be taken on anything here, and we have one information item tonight. Item 309, enrollment report. Ms. Thalandi.
Thank you, Madam President. This is our enrollment report for the third school month this year, and we are continuing to hold a slight gain of 8 students over the first month, and our attendance is at 97.19%.
Any questions or comments on this item? Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Moving on, we're on H. Ooh, we're zipping now. New business from board members. Is there any new business to bring forward from any member tonight? I see none. So going, gone. Okay. We have no correspondence for tonight. The next regular meeting of the Board of Education is, wait, when is it? Let's see. We have that on here somewhere. Oh, okay. January 19th at 6 p.m. right here. Unless there's objection, I'd like to now adjourn the meeting.
No objection, but just an interesting note. I think the city of Poway owes us some thanks for attracting so many people here while I think they were passing a water rate increase in Poway today. So that's great. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
All right. Hearing no objection, the meeting is now adjourned.